Business Takeout presents The Takeout Effect with Banki. The Takeout Effect brings real conversations in business.
Welcome to The Takeout Effect. The Takeout Effect brings a real conversation in business. I'm your host, and my name is Banki. The Takeout Effect is brought to you by Business Takeout. Let's talk about what Business Takeout is. Business Takeout is a nonprofit. It's a social enterprise that provides business resources such as blogs, podcast shows, events to the Black community. Our mission is to increase Black wealth and empower our community. That's what Business Takeout is all about. And let's dive right into it. Today's guest has been recently featured on SMJ Magazine, and also she is the president of the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce. Let's welcome Christelle Francois.
Hello, thank you. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your great platform. I love what Business Takeout is all about.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us today. We're going to have a lovely conversation. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm looking forward to talking with you and engaging today.
Great.
Yes.
So for everyone that's tuning in, please feel free to like and share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Before we start off, we're going to be diving into knowing more about Christelle's journey into entrepreneurship. We're going to know about, basically her role at the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce. We're going to talk about the Black community, building wealth in our community. We're going to have a real in-depth conversation that I'm hoping everyone will enjoy. But before we do that, we're going to get a message from our sponsor. Today's sponsor is Banki Designs. Banki Designs is a creative brand and design company in the Toronto area that specializes in graphic web design and social media content creating. So here's a message from our sponsor.
Great ad.
Thank you.
I love it.
So let's dive into it. You have started your journey as an entrepreneur,
Yes.
as most of us who have Black-owned businesses. Let us know how this journey started for you.
Yes, actually, entrepreneurship started pretty early for me. I think kind of as I look back, I've always kind of had an affinity with entrepreneurship. And for me, one of my first early ventures was really creating this networking platform that I had over 10 years ago. And essentially, I was kind of bringing together different professionals in creative industries and also in technology related fields where they would just have the space to be able to connect. And we were kind of doing like leading workshops, and I was inviting key guests to talk about different messaging. And that was back when I was in Montreal. So that was kind of one of my first companies, and it expanded into production for conferences, for concerts. So that was kind of the beginning of my journey into entrepreneurship. But I also, entered the corporate world. So it was kind of a side gig as I began my professional corporate career.
And I think many of us have done that and I know I have, where
Yes.
I've done the corporate life and still had my business on the side and tried to build them both off at the same time until eventually I take a leap of faith over into doing entrepreneurship full time.
That's right.
So tell us about your educational background.
Yes, definitely. So I'm originally from Montreal. I went to Concordia. So I got my bachelor's in economics, and then I entered to McGill University where I graduated in management.
Okay.
Yes.
So you started off with the chamber. You started off as a regional executive director,
Yes.
and now you are the president,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Before we dive right into that, I wanted to the Black Chamber.
Yes.
It really is about building our community. It's about giving resources to
Yep.
Black-owned businesses to strive and succeed. At least that's what it means to me,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Um, so similar to Business Takeout, the mission in Business Takeout is really to empower our community and build wealth in Black communities, right?
Yes.
Um, so, what's your take on building wealth in our community? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, building wealth is completely tied into some of the things that we do at the chamber as well, right? So at the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce, we have those two core main pillars that we focus on. One being making sure that we can be that national organization to support Black entrepreneurs to have the resources, training, and potential access to capital with other with other companies in terms of access to capital, and then also our pillar of advocacy and making sure that we're able to engage with government to make sure that we have a seat at the table to represent the Black entrepreneurs and making sure we're able to advocate for policy in that regard. So when I think about the chamber and when I think about what Black wealth means for me is really about circulating that dollar amongst our community and being able to grow generational wealth. And so that's defined by us being able to grow our companies, to scale them where we can employ more of our community. We're building these businesses that are sustainable, that we can pass down to our future children. And then also even exploring, land ownership as well. So Black ownership for me is really how can we build a multitude of Black millionaires where we're able to empower each other and really support our community in the way that we need to.
Yes. And I like the way you think, because I remember when I just started Business Takeout, I was really looking at, working in the corporate world.
Yes.
And the ways that when you look at the racial wage gap, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When you look at the network of Black workers in the work life, right? And the way that if we are to have Black-owned businesses, and be able to run those businesses successfully and have the right resources,
yes.
Then we can really truly make a difference and empower, our community and really build generational wealth, like you've mentioned.
That's right. Absolutely.
I saw an article on CBC.
Okay.
Didn't read all of it. Must have been a great article, but my fault. I'm not my time span.
Yes.
But you did say in there that it's time to level the playing field to give people a fair chance to succeed and thrive, right?
Yes.
So with that, what did you mean by that? And when you look at economic equality, do you think that plays a role in what you meant by that statement?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that specific, thank you for bringing that up. That specific conversation I had with CBC was actually in relation to a report that we had put out at the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce. And so basically last year we did a study where we were really examining what are the key challenges that Black entrepreneurs are facing across Canada. And with those challenges, we identified some of the key challenges were really around access to capital and access to funding. And so knowing that specific challenge, when I said, it's time to level the playing field, is we know that as a Black community, in the context of COVID and a pandemic, if we're already facing economic barriers, economic challenges, and then you throw in a pandemic on top of that, and the report shows us that entrepreneurs are having difficulty access to capital through, public or private institutions, then it keeps us back, right? And so leveling that playing field is reflected by making sure that private banks, financial institutions have policies and processes in place that keep it fair for us to have an adequate and equal chance to have access to capital for us to really grow our businesses, right? And so that's definitely what I meant by that, and why I think it's so critical is ensuring that we are able to be in that position to really grow our businesses in the way that we need to. But more importantly, it's making sure that we have that equal opportunity and access.
And how do you think COVID, the worldwide pandemic, had really affected, opportunities, the funding, or even the way that we, run our business?
Yeah, no, tremendously. I mean, I think even when we look at the statistics, sometimes, especially in the Black community, a lot of our businesses were either in service industries, whereby obviously the pandemic had such a larger impact on our businesses. And so many of us had to pivot very quickly, or even possibly shut down our businesses and our companies. And so I think COVID was definitely challenging, but on the flip side, we're also seeing a huge increase, right? And so increase in entrepreneurship.
That's true.
Right? So that's kind of that interesting balance whereby as much as our businesses have been impacted, it's also created this opening where we're seeing our community be empowered, creating our own companies, because that's what we do. We're innovative and we are so resilient, right? And so we've seen that huge spike in new businesses being formed, and even people who are still working in the corporate sector, not even considering going back to work and running their businesses.
And as your role as the president of the Chamber, the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce,
yes,
you are communicating with a lot of different people on a daily basis.
Yes.
What's your take on the importance of building relationships, especially when it comes to business?
Yes. I mean, building relationships is everything in business, right? And entrepreneurs will tell you that, right? It's not just who you know, but it's also who knows you, right? To refer you for that next client, for that next opportunity. And so that's one of the key things as well, at the Chamber, is that opportunity to network and having access to other entrepreneurs and other businesses as well. And so that networking piece is extremely critical to entrepreneur success. And not just looking to network with folks who are either in your industry, but also in other industries as well, to make sure that you're able to be, versed in having a wide range of your network, and making sure that you're able to connect laterally and also vertically.
That is so true.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been recently featured on the cover of SMJ Magazine.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, I recently interviewed Shelley Garrett, who is the founder of SMJ Magazine. So for anyone who wanted to watch that show, I'll put in, you can just comment and I'll put in the information in the comments so you can check out that particular episode. Her magazine has just recently been in Chapters and Indigo, and you've been featured recently, and that is going to be there this weekend. To my understanding.
Yes.
What was it like to, was this your first magazine cover feature?
Yeah, yes, it definitely was. And I'm so humbled by it as well. And, what I love about SMJ Magazine is they are extremely dedicated to celebrating professionals and entrepreneurs in the Canadian landscape. And what's exciting about this edition is, outside of me being on the cover, which is such a great honor, and I'm excited about that, it's also what's in the content of the storyline, right? And so they're also featuring other key pillars in our community who are really celebrating this specific historic moment that we're in. And that's really reflected by, this change in these initiatives that we're seeing through our federal government with our various Black leaders. And so this is a very unique moment in history. And so that's why I'm extremely honored to be on the cover of the magazine and interviewed. But I think what's also interesting are the other stories that are in the magazine as well. And that's why I really encourage everyone to, check out SMJ Magazine, reach out to them, and they can definitely tell you, where you can pick up your copy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So as your role as the president of the Chamber,
yes,
what do you enjoy the most about it?
What I enjoy the most, There's a lot of things I enjoy. I think what I enjoy the most is connecting with a lot of the different entrepreneurs that we have, and seeing their businesses and how we can really support them grow. And so that's why part of my commitment is making sure that we can provide them the best resources possible for them. And the other piece is also the advocacy work that we do. That's something that's very dear to my heart, and it really does fuel me when we're able to be at those stakeholder conversations, and we're able to advocate and push and say, look, we need this amount. We need these funding to make sure that our Black businesses have these resources, and we're able to push for that. And when we're able to see that impact and that shift happen at the federal or provincial level, is very rewarding. Yeah, so that I love, because I feel like I'm able to fight on the behalf of my community, and that's really dear to me. Yeah.
Amazing. And I love that you're so passionate about it. I can really, hear it in your voice, which is amazing.
Thanks. Yeah.
For those that, let's look at the comments before I get to the next question. There was 2 comments. So the first one, thanks for shout outs at SMJ Magazine.
Yes.
And Shelly says, so awesome. Well said. Congrats to Christelle and everything that she's doing in our community. Definitely.
Thank you, Shelly. I appreciate that.
So going into the chamber, right?
Yes.
For those who are tuning in, because we do have an international audience, and then there are some people in our community who may not know about what the Canadian Black Chamber is all about.
Yes.
So if you can really, I know I described it in my own words, if you can say in your own words, what is the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce?
Yes. So the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce is really, we position ourselves as being that economic hub across the country. We're a nonprofit organization, and we're that economic hub for Black businesses across Canada. And our mandate is to provide you with the tools, resources, access to other entrepreneurs so that you can network and we can circulate our dollar amongst our community. We provide workshops. We have different incubators and that we run. The Mastermind Program is one of our pillar programs that's extremely well received and ran by our guru, Doug Minter, who runs that great program where we support companies that are either at the startup phase or at the existing phase, and they're supported with mentors to really grow and expand their business as well. And on top of that, we also do some of the advocacy work that I was mentioning earlier as well. And so we really are there to serve and to help build more of our, multi-million-dollar Black-owned businesses in Canada, but also making sure that we're that voice. So we really position ourselves as being the voice of the Black entrepreneurs in Canada, and really making sure that we represent you guys to our best abilities, and we're making sure that these resources are being funneled down to all the Black entrepreneurs as well. And not only do we operate, we're based in Canada, but we also establish partnerships with chambers in the US, and also exploring partnerships in Africa and parts of the Caribbean as well, because at the end of the day, as Black people, we are one, and it's making sure that how can we connect and expand, and making sure that if your business is here, but perhaps you need to tap into the American market to have more customers and that type of reach, we want to make sure to help you facilitate that.
You see, I've never really thought about that. Really, what you just said is the ability to trade services and really network outside of your local area. It can be anywhere across Canada or even to the Caribbean internationally as well.
That's right. That's right. And it's necessary because, especially just being in Canada, it's almost kind of a numbers game, right? There's no way, if you only focus on selling your product in Canada, for you to have that consistent multi-million-dollar revenue year over year, there's just not enough. We just don't have the population size to give you that, right? So you have to already be thinking, okay, how can I expand? How can I reach? And that's what the chamber is here to help you do.
For those who are outside of Canada, the population of Canada is, it's I would say, about the same size as New York City. So
right. We're what, like 34 million, about 35 million. Yeah. So yeah.
So you mentioned the Mastermind Program, and
Yeah,
I think it's great because a lot of times when you start your business, you have challenges with the system and processes behind the scenes.
that's right.
And, it's really good to have a program that helps you, figure out where you are and where you're going to be and what you need to do to get there.
That's right. That's right.
What would you say? Because there's local chamber of commerce, right?
Yes.
I personally would say if I would say for everyone to join their local and join the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce. That's my personal opinion.
Agreed.
But what would you say would be the difference between a local chamber of commerce in comparison, to the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, great question. So a local chamber of commerce is great because what they do is you have access to some of the local resources. Sometimes you might have access to local grants or opportunities that can really help your business through funding that's available for your specific region. And you'll be kind of in close proximity with some of those other entrepreneurs in your area, which is great, right? Because I think as an entrepreneur, you want to surround yourself with other entrepreneurs where you guys can exchange ideas and really grow your business. But the difference in terms of joining a national organization is that national reach, right? And especially now we're still kind of in the pandemic, but as we're coming out of it, right? And we recognize the power of, everything is digital, right? And if you haven't gone digital, you're really kind of behind the curve. And so now there's also this normalcy as well to making sure that whether you're in Toronto, you can do business with someone in Vancouver. And so with the National Chamber of Commerce, you just have a wider reach of network that you're able to access. And also some of our relationships from a governmental standpoint are all the way to the federal level as well, right? And so that also gives you privilege to information because through the chamber, we provide resources to grants that come down from the federal level as well, information, workshops, things like that. So it's really about the reach that you're having. And so to your point, I encourage local as well, because that's great. But at the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce, because we're national and the partnerships that we have, there's definitely that advantage as well.
And for the purpose of keeping money within the Black community.
Yes.
And, it's really great to collaborate with other Black-owned businesses that are in different parts of the world as well.
That's right. That's right. We have to
have the ability and to have access and resources to that.
Exactly. We have to support one another, and we basically help make that easier to support other Black-owned businesses.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Christelle,
yes.
Business tips. Right?
Yes.
What business tip would you give to an entrepreneur who are looking to start a business right now?
Yes. Business tips. First tip, this seems really basic, but a lot of entrepreneurs skip this, but it's building out a business plan. A business plan is really a great way to start. Oftentimes we can have innovative ideas, but when you do the business plan, it challenges you, right? To do your market study, because that's critical. You need to make sure there's a market fit for what you're doing, and the need and the cost analysis and all of that. And also it forces you to explore your financial forecasting so you can really plan. Because one of the things you recognize in business is the key thing is really around discipline and being able to be flexible, to adapt and to pivot. So my first tip is make sure you have your business plan intact. And if you don't know how to build one, either reach out to the Chamber of Commerce. We'll be offering, workshops around that, or explore other organizations that offer templates that you can download that can help you frame out that business plan. My second tip is really around making sure your mindset and your mindset is strong, and that you have a daily kind of practice and discipline. Sometimes when you're starting off, you're putting in so many hours, and sometimes we forget to take a break, during the day, or some time for ourselves, right? And it's so important because you can burn out, and when you're exhausted, your thinking is not the sharpest. You're not as productive as you can be. So it's okay. So I really encourage folks to, as you plan out your days when you're running your business, to plan out time for yourself, right? Yeah, self-care and mental health is serious, and this is a marathon. When you're running a business, it's a long-term game, right? And so you want to make sure your foundation is solid, and that you're able to pivot. So yeah, business plans, making sure you're disciplined about your time and taking time for yourself. And thirdly, I would just say making sure you're also networking to learn, see if you can get a mentor that can really help you grow, joining associations so that you're around other entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship can feel very lonely at times because you're your vision, you're putting in the work, you're putting in those hours, but sometimes being around other folks who are very like-minded, who have that drive and that fuel as well, can give you that extra push, and they can understand and relate and refer you to, other folks that might help you as well. So I think those are some key, top 3 tips for someone that would be starting off. That's what I would say.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We're about to play a game right now.
Ooh, okay.
It is a fairly new game. It's called Business Confession.
Yes.
I will basically give you a question. I'll say, tell me about a time when that. You're going to give a response, and I'm going to guess whether or not it's a lie or a confession.
Ooh, okay.
Let's start the game right now.
Okay, let's.
Okay, Christelle, tell me about a time when you have made a mistake as an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And how did you fix it or overcome it?
How did I fix? Okay. That's okay. Confession. Okay, confession time. So I would say I had a situation. I was in my early 20s and I was launching one of my early businesses. And basically the mistake that I made is I had booked a guest from New York, and they were these, talented artists that I was flying in. And the goal was to have them kind of run this specific workshop that we were doing. And at the last minute, and I was young, right? I was like 20, 21. And one of my key sponsors at the time, at the last minute, I had to pull out, right? And my sponsors at the time were other small local businesses. And so they had to pull out. And at the very last minute, I had to find, $2,000, which at the time just seemed like a lot when you're 20 years old, to kind of, issue and provide payment to those guests. And so for me, that was a huge mistake, because what it taught me is making sure you always have a contingency plan, right? In terms of running a business. So my mistake was just thinking that, everything is going to be locked in, and not having that backup financial plan to support that. So it kind of put me in a bind. Thankfully, I was able to, get out of that, so, in terms of finding the resources, but it was extremely stressful at the time. And it almost, ruined a potential client relationship. So that was definitely a mistake in terms of not having a contingency plan, which has never happened since. Yes.
I can kind of see that in terms of business, there's a lot of times when there's processes in the way you do things, and you learn as you go you go along.
That's right.
So you might make one mistake, and then you know what, moving forward, this is what I'm going to add to the contract, or this is what I'm going to add to my system and process to make sure that this and that don't happen again.
Exactly. No, you hit it on the nail. You hit it on the nail. That's exactly it. And that's what it taught me early on. It's just that mindset of just being able to adapt very quickly, as well, and making sure that, you update your contracts and all of that. So that was a rookie 20-year-old mistake, but I learned from it. Yeah.
I'm guessing that's a confession.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a true moment. Yeah, but it was a good learning curve.
Definitely.
Yes.
So what does the future hold for you?
Ooh, What does the future hold? I mean, only God knows. Only God knows. I'm definitely, a spiritual woman, and I believe in that. But I think what the future holds is, I'm dedicated and I'm passionate to staying on what I believe. I really feel like I'm on my mission and I'm really living in my purpose right now. I feel it in everything in me, that I'm really in my season to really do impactful work. And so for me in the future, what I envision is really continuing to grow the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce as much as I can, making sure that we increase our visibility, increase our membership, and really, most importantly, provide the best programming possible through our different incubators that we're actually going to be launching in this fall, which I'm extremely excited to kind of announce. So make sure that you follow us on those various social media channels. But that's one of the things that I'm extremely passionate about. And then outside of that as well, is definitely continuing to grow my own company as well. So outside of being in the chamber, as you mentioned, I'm an entrepreneur and I run a consulting firm. And so I really look to also continue to grow that company and being in a position to hire more employees as well, to grow, to continue to grow my business and empower others. But it's really just about how can I help Black businesses thrive. Like that's the mission that I'm on.
Amazing. And I definitely get, because when you run a business, it's all about knowing when to get help, right?
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Exactly.
So before we wrap it up,
yes.
For those who are interested in joining the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce,
yes.
How can you go about doing that?
Yes, definitely. So you can visit our website, blackchamber.ca, and then you can join our membership. You can contact us, info@canadianblackchamber.ca, and we'll have our administrators, help you set up your account, process you, and tell you about the different tiers that we offer as well. And then you can kind of join and become a member and immediately begin to have access to some of our information and our database and our member base as well. So those are the key ways that you can join us and get more information about what we offer.
And if anyone wanted to contact you, how can they do that?
Yes, so you can send me an email. I'm easily available, or as listed below on the screen on social media. But my email is my first letter of my first name, so cfrancois@canadianblackchamber.ca. Just reach out to me directly. I'm always happy to connect with folks and exchange ideas. And you can just email me directly or visit our website, and our coordinator can put you in contact with me as well.
Amazing.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for so much for having me. I mean, this is such a great platform, Banki. You're celebrating Black-owned businesses, you're promoting Black wealth. So I also really want to commend you on what you're building and having me. Thank you, truly.
So for everyone who's watching right now, if you enjoyed this episode, please like and share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And thank you so much, Christelle, for joining us today. Thank you for having a great conversation that we did today.
Yes.
And wish you the best.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Have yourself a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Alrighty. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
If you enjoy our programming and want to help support Black entrepreneurship, please donate today. www.businesstakeout.com/donate.